Hi, I'm Joe, and this right here is my board game collection. And today I'm going to be reviewing one of my top 3 favourite board games of all time. And no, it's not these, it's not this, I'm not reviewing any of those up there, none of these, definitely not Monopoly. It's actually this, The Mind. A game that's small in size, but big in fun.
The Mind is a cooperative game for 2 to 4 players, but you could stretch it to 5 players if you wanted to. It consists of numbered cards from 1 to 100, 5 lives, 3 throwing stars, and up to 12 levels.
The way that you play this game is by placing cards in ascending order, which sounds pretty easy. So I play a 4, and Joe plays a 20. But here's the catch. We can't communicate with each other. No. Stop. Stop trying. No. No communication. Stop. In this game, the amount of players you have determines how many levels you climb. So, if you're playing as 4 people, you want to get to level 8, that is your victory. If you're playing with 3 players, level 10 is your victory. And if there's just 2 of you, you have to get all the way to level 12. Yes, 12 cards each. But if we can't communicate with each other, Joe in a different t-shirt because he's recording this on a different day, how do we get to level 12? I hear you ask. Well, there's a couple ways that people like to play this. Some like to count in their head, which some others see as a bit cheaty, so maybe it's taken off of house rules. Others like to get a general feel for when cards should be played, which I would recommend if you've played with friends for a couple games at least, to get each other's kind of stamina on this game. Which brings me on to the whole sync thing. Well, it seems impossible to sync up with your friends. How do you know when they're counting to 14 and you might be counting to 26? Well, this is where hands on the table comes in. At the start of the game and every time that you pause, place your hands on the table with everyone else. If you are all synced up, you should raise your hands from the table at the same time. It doesn't matter if you're a tiny bit off, just make sure that everybody's raising them relatively at the same time and you should be absolutely fine to be in sync.
You start the game at level 1. Every player is dealt 1 card that they must play in ascending order. Each level you gain more cards, 1 card per level. So at level 4 each player is dealt 4 cards, and at level 8 each player is dealt 8 cards. So as 4 players at level 1, you're only dealing with 4% of the deck, but at level 8, you're dealing with 32%. That's almost a third of the whole deck. And that's how the difficulty ramps. The more cards involved, the riskier it is to play a card.
Mine was lower, we lost. That's where you're wrong.
These are your lives and throwing stars. Your life cards, well, represent your lives. If you make a mistake, you lose a life. If you lose all your life cards, the game ends and all of you lose collectively. Your throwing star cards are probably the most difficult part of the game, I'd say. And by that I mean it's difficult to know when to use them. When you use a throwing star card, everyone removes the lowest value card from their hand. To use a throwing star card, every player must make the same signal, usually by putting their free hand up in the air.
59.
It must be unanimous. Even if one player does not raise their hand, a throwing star is not used.
Whenever I play this game, there is usually a problem with throwing star hoarding. We hold on to these little guys dearly, like literally any item in your Skyrim inventory. You know, you definitely did it. But how do we get these guys?
Well, at the start of the game, the players are given 1 life card per person, and only 1 throwing star. But that's not the only way of getting them. As you complete certain levels, you get rewards, either a throwing star or a life. You can see the reward in the bottom left of the card. If you don't see a reward, then you don't get one.
And that's kind of it. It's a pretty easy game to play, pretty fun, and I couldn't recommend it any more than I already do. I'll see you soon.